Once you go through that process, you just feel, I felt less. I mean, like, why I can't provide for my kids myself, but I had just got, my husband just left me. He was a breadwinner, you know. I mean, we had everything. He made the money, you know, and we had what we needed. But now we don't have that.
Yeah.
You know, he was not paying no child support. He was gone.
Yeah.
So I had to do what I had to do. So I had to let pride go. That's one thing we had to do, let pride go. I know a lot of times we had too much pride. And I had to let that pride go and do what I had to do for you and Micah. And that's what I did. Once you let pride go, a lot of things will come up.
We're creating a space where these conversations come out of the shadows as we talk to some of the most resilient individuals, community leaders, and neighbors to share their experience navigating the challenges of social care and what it took for them to overcome. We promise to keep it real, and we'll have some fun as well. So join me as we meet our first guest. So, for my first episode, I really thought hard about who to bring on the show, how it should go, and what would be the best way to introduce me as the host of the show, but also give an amazing story of how someone overcame a really challenging obstacle. And what better person than to invite my mother, the person who gave life to me, because your story is so powerful and it inspires me every day, but also your story is the beginning of my story. So I just really am so grateful that you are open to sharing your story with the world and joining me on the very first episode. So thank you so much for coming, Mom.
Well, thank you for having me on your first episode.
I wanted to start out with telling people a little bit about you. So I would love if you could tell your story, like where you grew up, how was it like growing up in the small town of Monetta, and also what do you do for a living?
Well, I grew up in a small town in Manila, it's a rural community with about 200 to 300 people. In the neighborhood where I grew up, we had one stop sign and no stop lights. And my grandfather was the only owner of a country store there. So at an early age, I used to work in my grandfather's store at the age of 6. And one thing my grandfather always told me, he said, in life, no one's going to give you anything. You're going to have to work for it. So I began working when I was 6 years old in the country store. My mother was a teacher assistant. My father was a computer analyst. My mother is the outspoken one. My father was very quiet. But my mother, she was outspoken one with no filter at all.
Grandma's definitely the most vocal person, the matriarch of the boss.
Yes.
And the grandfather that you're talking about is who y'all call Granddaddy Big Boy, who ran the store.
Yes.
And people still talk about this today.
Yes.
Back home.
Over 50-some years later, he's still the icon of the community.
Yeah, iconic. And we still don't have stoplights there either.
No stoplights.
No stoplights.
No stoplights. We do have a Dollar General now, but no stoplights.
Okay, so tell them a little bit about your career path, like your story. I always found it inspiring because it's the reason I got in healthcare too. You were in hospice, and you know I put that in all my essays to get into college and stuff, that my mom's a bad nurse, all her patients die. Because I was like, what? Me and my brother didn't want you to take care of me.
Yeah.
Us when we were growing up, because your patients died. So talk about like, why did you choose hospice? And even now, you went from the end of life to now working with babies when they're born to the beginning of life. So what is that like?
At an early age, I always wanted to take care of people.
Yeah.
And at the age of, I think, like 10 or 11, my grandfather developed, he had poor blood circulation. He developed a big ulcer on his leg. And we went from like his knee to the bottom of his ankle. So a big open sore. And every night we had to go in there and dress his leg. And he didn't want no one to do that but me. So I was like 10 or 11, and I was the only one 7 days a week go down there and help dress my grandfather's leg. And that thing healed all the way up. So after I graduated, I got my CNA license, and I started being a hospice aide. So I started there in 1994, and I was a hospice aide for 20-some years. Hospice is like the end of life. The 6 months or less in life. And I've seen a lot of people die on me. A lot of people died after I got there. A lot of people died doing while I was there. And so I just, I did that for 20-some years, but then I wanted something different. So back in 2019, I started working at the hospital. And that's why I became worked as a nursing assistant on the mother-baby unit. So now I went from, like you said, from the end of life, now I'm at the beginning of life. So which I love that. So I'm seeing a little more happier times now than the tragic times.
And I just think that's powerful too, that your journey has always been about healing. Like, no matter whether it was the end, you wanted people to heal, like, or just honestly have a great experience during their last final moments on this earth. To the beginning, you want mothers to heal and get ready for this next journey of life, raising this new human being, which is something that I just feel like you're the reason that I think healthcare is such a powerful tool that needs to connect with other resources. I want to talk today about your story of navigating healthcare and social care and really trying to connect all those resources. What was the most challenging part of your life? Like the most, if you could think back to the roughest time where you really had to push forward and work hard for everything you have and all of those things that Granddaddy Big Boy taught you. What was that time like for you?
I think really it was 2 into 1. I guess you could say when our house burnt down, we lost everything.
Yeah.
And a couple of months after that, becoming a single mother when my husband left, our father left.
Yeah.
So those was really the challenging times. There was 2 of the challenging times in my life.
I remember it. I was 11. So, like, talk through the house burning down, because actually I wasn't there. So, what was it like that day? Where were y'all sitting? Like, what? How did y'all know the fire was happening?
I had just came home maybe 2 or 3 days before that happened for having surgery. So I was home. My husband was home at the time too, and Michael, your baby brother, was there. And I had just left out the bedroom to come into the den because your father, he was having high blood pressure problems then too. So I was taking his blood pressure. So as I was taking his blood pressure, within less than 5 minutes, we looked into the room and our bedroom was engulfed in blue flames. So the flames were like, went all the way up through the walls and everything. It was just like blue flames. So we just rushed out the house. So all I knew, we left out with the clothes on our back that day, and we lost everything. It was an electrical fire. So everything was gone. Within a matter of 30 minutes, we lost everything we had.
How did you feel in that moment? Like, when you saw like, was it just like fight or flight? Like, grab Mike and go?
Yes, grab Mike and go. That's what all I did. And once I went to the front door, everything was like, psh.
Once you got outside, like, you were able to call 911, and then I'm assuming firefighters, paramedics.
Everybody came out. We had the neighbors and stuff that called 911, and then they came out, and put the flame out.
One of the things I remember about the fire, when I got back, which was probably like a day later, 2 days later, was the smell and just walking through and seeing everything be black, and just like I could barely make out like pictures that I love B2K had on the wall and stuff. Like, so what are those things that you remember from that moment? Like going back in the house after everything was burnt before it was tore down. What, like, the feelings, the smell, what do you remember seeing that just really kind of impacted you?
The memories of everything that I had worked for was gone, but I still thank God for our life that we did not die in there. But still, it was a lot of memories that was in that house, because it was my grandmother's house, and so it was memories from when I was a childhood until that happened.
Yeah.
So from a baby to 11, you was raised there, and from a baby to 9, Michael was raised there. So most of this, the memories that was in there from, this is really my early childhood and y'all early childhood.
Yeah, I always think about that, the pictures and stuff we lost there. Yeah. And, Romeo, my son, is 11 now. So just to think that all the pictures that I've taken from him from since he was born to today, and his clothes and his first teddy bear we got for him when he left out, all of that's gone. Mm-hmm. It's just a wild thing to even imagine. Now what was the next step? How, you're basically homeless?
I'm homeless, no clothes, just like nothing. I lost everything. I still trust and believe in God. Mm-hmm. So I said, I got to get up. My kids got to go. We got to get up from this. So I started going out and get different resources to help me to get my life back together.
Clearly, you're a woman of faith. You taught me to be a woman of faith. Always pray. Always believe in who God is in your life. So you prayed about it. You said, I got to get up. It was a week before school started. I remember we worked so hard to get those clothes.
Yes,
for
and that's
school.
when you had your
I
first job
started
as a
middle school.
babysitter.
Yeah.
That job and got all your clothes and all that was ruined. So that was another thing too. All your clothes, everything that you had got for school was gone.
And
so
that was my first day of middle school. So who all did you go to just figure out, like, I'm homeless, we don't have our clothes, we don't have anything, can you help?
First start was the Red Cross.
Okay.
I went to the Red Cross in Aiken, South Carolina, and they gave me a card. They asked how many members in our family. It was 4 of us at the time. So they gave me a debit card. And for me to use that debit card to get us some clothes and food to last a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
We did that first. And then I went to ACTS. ACTS is in Aiken, South Carolina,
what
too.
Is that?
It's Area Churches Together Serving.
Okay.
But with that, I had to call, make an appointment, and then go. So that took a little while to do. It took like a week or two for me to do that. I had to make an appointment. Then they had gave me an appointment. Then I had to go down there to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to different churches, gave me income to different churches and different organizations around the area gave me money too, to kind of help us get back on our feet.
You being a woman of faith,
yes,
believing in faith, the first place you thought is like, let me go to these faith-based organizations.
Yes.
Like, I know who God is in my life. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go to these churches, explain my situation. About how many times do you feel like you had to tell the story, like, hey, my house burnt down. I have 2 children. I have a husband. We lost everything. Like, how many times did you have to go and say that to people?
It was a lot of times. I mean, I really can't count. I know it's 20, 25, 30. It was a lot.
Oh my gosh.
It was a lot of time. I had to go and just tell my story, over and over and over again.
And do you feel like that was a dignified experience, like having to do it? Or do you, like, people always talk about you feel like you're begging at a certain point.
And that's what I felt like I was doing. But I know I needed the help.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I had to do what I had to do.
You had to put the pride aside.
I had to put the pride aside. And it was kind of hard for me to do at the time, but I had to do it. I had 2 kids. I had a husband. I mean, I had to do what I had to do.
The most challenging period of your life was a 2-in-1 period. So it's the house burning down in August. And it sounds like we just got back on our feet in December. Then you said that's when my dad, your husband, decided to leave. So when did you feel like it started to take a turn? Because I'm fully aware that my dad was a violent person. And I think that it's an important part of your story that you share, that you are 20 plus years of domestic violence survivor. So you're saying that he left in December, but this started back in the early 90s.
We started really before we even got married. The abuse started. But I always thought it would get better after we get married, but it got worse.
Okay.
So I was from 89 till we got married until 2002. I was being abused.
From 89 to 2002?
Yes.
The first time it happened, what happened and what made you still decide to stay, even if it was before you were married? Because I know we weren't born till after.
He always was a cheater. But when I catch him doing his cheating, he'd get mad and hit me. So I think the first time it happened, it was my aunt that helped raise me, reared me. It was at my mom's house. My mom and my aunt stayed close to each other. Mm-hmm. And I found out he was cheating, and he came and hit me. And I know my aunt was like in her 80s, and she grabbed him off of me. And she said, "Baby, you don't need to marry him. He's not. When he's gonna beat you now, what you think he's gonna do to you when you get married?" But I thought it was get better. If I married this man, it would get better. Mm-hmm. And it didn't. I married him, and even when I was pregnant with you, I got beat. And I always remember when I used to get beat when I was pregnant with you, I always make sure he didn't hit me where your head was. Yeah. Because I was trying to protect you. I mean, from day one, I was trying to protect you.
And you've always done that.
Yes.
And I'm very grateful for that. People get in domestic violence situations every single day. There are women going through this every single day and dying from it. And I'm so grateful that you didn't let it get to that point for you as well as me and Michael. But how did you know it was time to leave? Like, what was the plan? Like, what came up in your mind that made you feel like it was time to leave?
Well, you said enough is enough. It was 20 years of being beaten. And I just got tired. And I said, God, either I'm going to kill him or he going to kill me.
Yeah.
Either way, my kid's going to be without a mother. What shall I do? And I never forget that night God told me to lay on my face and cry out to him. And I did that. And less than 2 weeks later, the day after Christmas, he said he was going to work and never came back.
Mm-hmm.
And with just like that, he was gone. And to this day, he don't know why. He asked, I don't know why I left you.
Yeah.
But I know God, and I know why he did that. God did it. I didn't look for resources because I was ashamed, because I was getting beaten. So I thought where people would look at me, think about, oh, she's getting beaten. Oh, she's nobody. So I didn't really search for resources at the time when I was getting beat like that. But there are resources out there, but I was ashamed to go to those services for help.
Women go through this every day,
Right.
and there are a lot of women who probably think that same stigma exists for them too. What other assumptions that you know that you feel like people are making on mothers in abusive situations that kind of hinder a mother from even seeking help in the first place?
That they are nobody, that they deserve it.
Yeah.
Because, if they didn't deserve it, they wouldn't get beat. So I felt like the people think I'm a nobody, I deserve what I was getting, but I did not deserve that.
Mm-hmm.
I did not deserve to get beat like I was, but I did. And so once I got out of that situation, once he left, I would start going to, I needed help because he was the breadwinner of the family. We had our own truck and company. We was doing good financially at the time.
Yeah.
We was doing real good. So when you come from 2 income, got down to 1 income, what do? So I had to go to DSS to get EBT, SNAP,
Okay.
and get y'all on
Yeah.
Medicaid. So
Mm-hmm.
that still was a process then. I had to call, make an appointment. And I think I stayed in there all day long to get Medicaid, sign up for Medicaid, and sign up for EBT, which is SNAP.
Both those applications tend to help low-income individuals, especially mothers.
Right.
So how did you feel though? I always get into the feeling. I just want people to understand the human element of it. You are now a single mom and you have to go to a government assistance program.
Sometimes I felt less of a mother, less of a human being because I had to do that. But I had to do what I had to do.
Right.
But you still yet, once you go through that process, you just I felt less. I mean, like, why I can't provide for my kids myself, but I had just got, my husband just left me. He was a breadwinner, I mean, we had everything. He made the money, and we had what we needed. But now we don't have that.
Yeah.
He was not paying no child support. He was gone.
Yeah.
So I had to do what I had to do. So I had to let pride go. That's one thing we had to do, let pride go. I mean, a lot of times we had too much pride. And I had to let that pride go and do what I had to do for you and Micah. And that's what I did. Once you let pride go, a lot of things will come up.
I think that's a beautiful thing, what you're saying too, about letting pride go, but also one of the things that I advocate a lot for in my role is about a dignified experience, right? Like sometimes pride is all that we have, just to say that like I'm doing everything I can to take care of my child and you were doing an amazing job at taking care of me and Mike, because I would have never known you had an all-day experience at DSS and you had been crying or what. You shielded us from all of that. But for you to have gone into a place seeking help, I would have wanted it to be better for you. I would have wanted you to have a dignified experience, for them to say, I believe this mother said she needs help. I believe her. Let us combine together and see, how do we get her insurance? How do we make sure she has a better job? How do we make sure that she has access to food for her kids? Like, a part of me feels like society or these agencies as a whole are continuing to fail our community members, especially mothers who are trying to get back on their feet. What is one thing you wish you could change though about those experiences, whether it was navigating the community resources that you had to navigate during the fire, or navigating the government resources that you did once you became a single mom? What is like things that you would change in both those experiences?
I think it was because there was one place you could go for everything you needed. That one stop, that's all. Whether it's food, whether it's Medicaid, whether it's help for your house burn, whatever you needed, that one place is all you needed to go to get the services that you needed at that time. So it's a time management thing. If there's one place that could do everything, it'd be so much better. My thing is seek God, advice, direction, answers.
Mm-hmm.
So you're seeking God for your advice of what to do, seeking for direction on where to go, and seeking for the answer that you need to do when He tell you what to go, where to go. So always advice, directions, and answers
Yeah.
to God.
So advice, direction, answer, ADA. You know I have to remember
Remember
acronyms.
that.
So ADA, advice. So seek first God, and again, you're a woman of faith. And even if that person isn't a person of faith, to seek advice, to really try to do their research, I'm assuming, to
Right.
figure out where should they go. And once they get that direction, go.
Go. See
Like you
the answer
said,
they need. Get the answer that they need for that
yeah,
situation.
and get the answers they
Yes.
need. And your hope is that everyone has the opportunity to do that, to be able to get advice, to be able to have a clear direction on where they should go, and to be able to get the answers they need so that they can live a healed and healthier life.
Right, exactly. It's out there. But they got to do what they need to do to get that.
How was your possible made possible? So you being the amazing mother, grandmother that you are today, to Romeo, certified nursing assistant, 20 years of surviving domestic violence. How was your possible made possible so that other people can understand that may be in your same situation and look at this and say, I want to be like her. I want to get on the other side of this. What would you tell them to do or say or just understand about the process for making their life possible, the life that they want to be possible?
Love themselves. You have to love yourself. Self-love is the best love.
Mm-hmm.
So if you love yourself, you know that you don't deserve to. If you've been treated wrong or being abused by your significant other, your husband, get out.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no, if they doing that, they're gonna continue to do that. So self-love, love yourself, and know that you are worthy of more than that, and get out and seek help to survive.
Self-love is the best love, and
Yes.
our community members need that. They deserve that, and I think it would allow a lot of them to have a more dignified experience.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
I just want to say thank you so much, Mom, for coming on the show. Like, you've always inspired me. You've always motivated me to be a better person, and I've always looked to you as my role model. But for you to be brave enough to have the courage to share about this period of your life, 2002, and to share it with thousands of people who may view this, I really find that to be so valuable, and I'm just so grateful that you're open to that. So I just want to say thank you for sharing this story, for letting people see your journey, also the beginning of mine, and doing it with no fear. The woman that I've always known you to be, this courageous, amazing person. So thank you.
But thank you for having me here. And Joy, thank you. I am so proud of you. You know, you make my heart go bump the bump bump. But thank you so much for all the work that you do for everybody else. I appreciate it.
I love you.
I love you too.